welcome back to Tarot Tats and Tea. Today I thought I'd do something a little different and show you my space, the space where I read tarot for myself, the space where I sit and meditate, or where I sit and read. Sometimes I even knit. Well, actually that's a little bit of a stretch of the truth. Sometimes I get needles out, stare at it, go put it back in the bag and shove it back under the table, because I'm not really a knitter and I am that far from finishing a sort of jumper coat garment that I think this is the third year it's been going on for. I lose the will to live every time I look at it. But anyway, this is where I tarot. This is where I spend time relaxing, enjoying my hobbies, my interests. And I thought, what can I do today? I'll bring in my fellow tarot tubers and share my place, my space, my peace and quiet, my little haven. So here goes. But before we do, I always do that, don't I? Here goes, but before we do. Just before recording this, I had just nipped down to the shops, as I say, and I've been looking everywhere for a candle snuffer. I have been blowing candles out, which is not the best thing to do if you're into doing all your sort of esoteric stuff. But this is what I found. A gorgeous little candle snuffer. It has little crystals on the handle and around the edge. It's got such a lovely detail, and it's so pretty. And I saw this in a little shop in Bridgewater shopping centre called Carrigdon, and this is how we'd use it, which I'm sure none of you need know told how to use a candle snuffer. There goes. I just like doing it. So I'll just relight that and pop it back onto my sacred space, and then I'll turn the camera around and show you exactly where I'm doing my thing. See you in a sec. So this is coming in from the door. I have a cabinet here that's filled with paraphernalia that I will show you in a sec. Sam is chilling out on the chair in which I sit to meditate or read or craft. On my window you can see I've decorated it with bunting made by my cousin. There are crystals there that were being sold in Homebase, I think it's called, over in Wales. So I purchased some to decorate the windows, and the large one that you see hanging in the window there, that one there, that was bought for me by my mum. So my windowsill, you can see my Russian dolls at one of the pyramids I made. Some stones, crystals, my mortar and pestle with my black salt in it, a lovely plant from Roisin, a little girl down the road who gave me for Christmas. And here you have my sacred space and my little altar. Now, there are a number of things on here. First of all, we have my Gaia statue, as you can see there. And there are all items on here in acknowledging the elements. The candle, and the candles I should say, for fire. The feathers, and when I'm burning incense, for air. Then we have the shells for earth. And the wooden goblet you see there is for water, and that was made by my uncle. You'll see more of his handiwork in a second. But I have a lamp on my windowsill there that was one of the last things my mum and dad bought me before my dad passed away. I have one up here and one downstairs. The elephants there are a reminder of my holiday to Bali. And on the top of the curtain rail there, Mum and I collect these sort of little things. Every time I go over, we buy something nice and glittery that we can add to this, and Mum adds onto her Christmas tree. And the crocheted animals are made by my sister. Those two little hand sewn cushions there were made by my sons. I bought the hare in a Christmas market, and the rabbit I bought in, I think it was in County Clare. There's some amethyst hanging in the window, and you can see my little butterflies there too, representing freedom and happiness. Excuse me. Now, I used to have this on top of a different tabletop. However, this I found this unit on the Arclo Buy and Sell, or Arclo Freebies it was, and it was actually in one of my neighbours' houses. So I messaged them and they said I could have it. It was black and white, so I've sort of upcycled it, and all those baskets contain oracle decks. This is a piece of driftwood that I managed to drag home. On the floor, you can see my charger in the box there for my laptop, but that satchel is an extremely old satchel. I've had that for about 37 or 38 years, and that's what I use when I'm travelling, and I bring my tarot decks and books that I'm taking with me. This is a bureau. Again, this was something I saw. It was dilapidated, so it was restored and sort of shabby chiced up, and there's an awful lot of stores in there, and one of them is the Starling paperwork. That's the paperwork for the star that's named after my father. That was given to me by some friends of mine, Tamara, Pauline and Jer. My salt lamp. The ragdoll has a story too. I purchased her when I was on a lunch break from having my chest tattooed, and she caught my eye in a shop and she came home with me. The paintings are paintings that I have done over the years. That one glows in the dark. All the white bits is glow in the dark paint. That's just a flow painting, and I wanted it to look like water skimming over the top with diamantes in it, which in the light, when the sun shines on, you can see all the little diamante bits. And that's the Aurora Borealis, sort of a furnacey looking one there. The two here in front of us, the lines and the dots, are paintings, little abstract paintings from my two young nieces over in Wales. They'll be there forever. This is the table I work from, and again it's the table and chair on the Arclo Freebies, and I sanded them down, but it's going to need doing again because the dogs have scratched it. The chair I haven't sanded down or decorated yet, it's still as it was, but the table, I took tiles off it and painted it, filled it with resin. The feather, the handprints, the scales that you can see there, they all light up in the dark. It's all luminous paint. Again, the lamp I bought on the Arclo Buy and Sell. There we go. I'll come back to the table and show you a little more when I'm sitting down. Here are my dream catchers, my different bits of stone and crystals there. A lovely sketching of my father. That was from my friend Pauline at Christmas. And here we have books, both on tarot and on the shelves beneath, craft books. Books there that can boxes there that hold a lot of incense and stuff there. And then we have some more of my own craft work. I've taken a good few down and put them through different places in the house. That's the door we came in. A couple of paintings there. On here you can see more craft stuff. The teddy bears my sister has crocheted, and my incense. That little bear at the back there, he's made from alpaca wool. So he's Alfie the alpaca bear. He needs to be seen more actually. And here we have tarot with Rory Story cubes and 3 beautiful bears gifted to me by Anne Fort. This little bear I bought myself. He's Teddy Edward. Of course, the bears in there are Edwina, Murph and Paddy. And here we have more decks. These are my tarot decks on this side. The wildwood there is put to one side on the top there, because that's what I'm going to be working through the book, a year with in the wildwood, which I'm looking forward to getting started in that. I'm actually a month late. And then the baskets at the bottom all hold crafting items. You might be wondering why I have Rubik cubes on top of my Dark Mansion tarot box. Well, you see, Rubik cubes are very symbolic to me. A, I love solving them, but B, their complexities or their puzzle difficulties and quirkinesses reminds me of people. It reminds me of people's moods, people's psyche, people's personalities. That they can be difficult, they can be easy. Some of them you can solve, some of them you can love, others you just want to take and chuck out the window. But that's that's me and my odd way of seeing things, I suppose. This is the cabinet as you walked in. I said we'll show you in here. Now up here you can see I have a Ganesh backflow incense burner. The love spoons at the back, my daughter bought for us. It's a Welsh love spoon. There's a prayer wheel, a small crystal ball, a rosary. Then we have the bell and the singing bowl. And this painting here is a miniature. This is what I used to design a painting for a lady in a studio in Gorey in County Wexford. Here's my large crystal ball. Some pyramids I've made, salt rocks there that we bought in the salt mines in Poland, in Krakow. And my charms that I use for charm casting. That tray at the back, I used to use that to read my charms from, but then it wasn't always easy to see them because silver on silver is not great, so I transferred that to a wooden chest. In the drawer I have spare reading cloths, tarot bags, and underneath all that I have lots and lots of incense sticks. Down here I have all my sort of witchy bits. There's a little drum. There is, not that one, there's this musical one at the top here, which is that black one there. Looks like a pebble, big pebble. I've got eggshells, I've got moon water, I've got spices and herbs, stones and shells. And on the bottom one you can see my shamanic drum and 2 candlesticks that were made for me again by my amazing uncle, who's phenomenal when it comes to woodwork. Takes after his dad. He was phenomenal with woodwork too. At the back of the shamanic drum I have ink pens. So I'm just going to take you back round here and we will have a bit more of a chat from here. Here we are back again at my table. Here is where I find that I can concentrate, whether it's just because the room is so peaceful, but if I'm actually doing work on, if I'm doing a reading that I'm posting off to somebody or emailing off to somebody, I tend to sit here as opposed to my computer downstairs, because I just find because that's in the hub of the home, it can be a little bit distracting. So if anything like that, I do up here in this room here. Now on my desk I have a number of different things. You might recall this from when I was doing the ancestral tarot, and this was a sigil that I sort of took symbols off a tarot card. It was the sun card, and the sun, the flag that the child carries, and the leaves from the sunflowers, and I thought, right, that's going to be my sigil on here to strengthen it up. I drew it onto wood and I charge that I charge my pendulum on that piece of wood, and that stays here on my table. Now I have a wooden tray on here that I use now instead of the silver tray for reading my my charms. So just bring that over. I have photographs that I'm putting together because I'm going to do a collage of photographs here and have it on the wall of my children and my family. So that's the tray that I'm using at the moment for charm casting, and it's a lovely size. You've got room that you can shuffle them around. It's not as noisy as being on the tin tray. I have a number of decks here on this table, and the decks that I have got in here at the moment are the Magical Forest, the Robin Wood, the Cosmic Cycles, the Tarot at the End of the Rainbow and the Wheel of the Year Tarot, and finally the Tarot de Carlotides. Now, by the end of this month, these will be put back in amongst my collection and 6 other decks will be picked. What I really do like about each of these decks are some of them are very whimsical and they're not the sort of deck I might have gone for in the earlier days, but I'm really drawn to all sorts of different tarot decks now. And I found that this one in particular, the Cosmic Cycles Tarot, as I've since found out, I was quite lucky to get hold of this, and I had no problem ordering it, and it arrived. This is a while back now, and afterwards I found that people were having a dreadful time trying to get it, but I was very lucky. That's the back of this deck, and this is the type of art. Now, why I like this deck is that it merges the old with the new. It looks at tarot from a very modern viewpoint. Let's look at the Fool, for instance. That is so symbolic of today's youth, of today's business people, of people who are going off on an adventure, of people who are wanting a change in their lives regardless of their age. But for our youth in particular, this really says it all. They're constantly dashing about, heading off to new parts of the world that us as parents wouldn't have dreamed of travelling to, particularly on our own. But the youth of today are far more adventurous. The world has become a smaller place with the introduction of technology and with the improvement of technology. But look at this, a young girl pulling her case, arms full, dashing from one departure lounge to another, ready to take off on her adventure of a lifetime. And do you know something? It's so it is so much like what today's youth are like. It sort of merges modern day with, would you say, olden days? Maybe. But it brings you, it makes me, as somebody of my age, look at the world and look at tarot through the eyes of a younger person. And you know, it widens your reading. You see different things that you wouldn't see in a traditional tarot deck. Look at the Magician, and this man's making magic with music on his decks on a disco. You know, it's what today's youth would consider magic, you know. Our High Priestess, look at our High Priestess, and you know, our knowledge, listen to our inner voice, but look at this High Priestess. She actually looks fairly stressed out. There she is, a young girl, she's got a phone in one hand, a laptop in the table in front of her. She's reading her cards, so you've got the esoteric with the modern, you've got her love of plant life and, you know, sort of nurturing, because you need to nurture plants and you need to water them to make sure they live. But she's sitting there in a world of her own, sort of studying what you know, her way of studying her tarot and reading. She's got charms on her desk and crystals. She's got her cat there. If you have a look, isn't that just so typical of how today's youth study and how they learn? The Empress, look at that, nurturing and caring. So who's the Empress in that picture, would you say? Would you say it's the hairdresser who's caring and you know, doing the hair of the young person in front of her? Or would you say it's the person hiding behind the hand mirror? It could be both of them at different parts of their life. So it just shows you how amazingly different this tarot can be read. And one more. Oh, I'll tell you which one I'm going to do. There's the Emperor, okay, which is, yep. But the Hierophant in this, I think, is amazing. We have mala beads. We have people practicing different methods of prayer and relaxation, meditation, prayer, different types of prayer. It's just fantastic. I love it. So you can see why I love this particular deck. It gives us a whole new way of looking at stuff. It merges the old with the new, and it makes old fogies like me look at the world of tarot through the eyes of a younger person, and it expands our own sort of ideas when it comes to looking for anything to prompt your imagination, to prompt your intuition. I just think it's gorgeous. So those are the decks I have here at the moment. Tarot at the End of the Rainbow is beautiful, it's colourful, it's magical. Wheel of the Year, same sort of thing. The Magical Forest and the Wheel of the Year, albeit the art is very different in both of them, they're the same style of cards where they have the names in different languages in the four corners. And the Tarot Cardotydes, that does too. That's lovely in pastel colours, and I've recently done a walkthrough of that. I was introduced to that by the lovely Anne Fort. So let's pop these back here. So those are the decks that I'm currently enjoying, and there's no other way to say it but totally enjoying. The Cosmic Cycle is a very chunky deck as well, and it fits nicely into this little holder here. On my desk I also have my box of pendulums. You can see a load of different pendulums inside here. There's one in particular that I love, and it's this one here. This was bought for me by an old friend a good few years ago now, and it was bought for me in the copper mines in Llandudno. We had a brilliant weekend in Wales, and this was purchased for me, and it reads really well. It does respond nicely, but I need to get a nice polish and polish that up and have it nice and shiny. So that stays there. I use this a lot on my desk when I'm reading with this pendulum, and you won't have seen me use this when I was working through the Ancestral Tarot. This is something that I came upon recently, again whilst away in Wales, and I find it extremely accurate when working with my pendulum, asking questions and getting the answers. I have used it, tried and tested it a good few times with people here at home, a couple of my neighbours, but also for a lady who I read online, who I read for in Africa quite a bit, and they have all proved to be bang on. So this is my space. I'm using this cloth at the moment. It's one that I made myself, and the material is from Abercarn in North Wales, and Abercarn is a mill. So I've got velvet, red velvet on one side, and my beautiful, look at that, it looks like outer space, doesn't it? Galaxy, like on the other. So that's what I put on this table when I'm laying out my cards. My notebook, notes from here get transferred into my journal, and you'll have seen this and met this journal, this little journal, whilst I was doing the Ancestral Tarot. It's like a little Bible now. My house is full of these little books that I fill and then move on to the next one. So the other thing, and you would have seen this very recently on one of my videos, I went on, there was a lovely tarot event that Brian Cormac Carr was involved in, and he was very kindly shared the links that we could watch his presentation, and it was really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and there were spreads that he did, and you know, it was very, very enjoyable. And in that I came across another tarot reader who also uses story cubes. Now I've only used story cubes very privately here on my own at home, because I thought, well, nobody else will be using story cubes surely. And it's the first time I've seen anybody using story cubes alongside tarot, other than myself. And I use these pretty similar to how I do with charm casting, but I use it on this board. It's only recently I decorated this, but this was an old breadboard, and I went and put it in the dishwasher. As a result, half of it's missing. It just fell apart. You can see an almighty crack in it here as well. So I wrote on it, drew on it, and filled it with resin so it won't crack anymore. and you've got the nice shiny surface there, and I painted gold around the edges. And this is what I use to throw my story cubes, and what's on the board is what I read. Okay, and those are very, very enjoyable and really really do complement the tarot nicely. So you don't necessarily have to use Rory story cubes. They're the ones I use because I used them when I was working as a teacher. I was a teacher for many years, and Rory story cubes were a great prompt for helping children who didn't find it easy to use their imagination when it came to story writing. So I use the cubes. They're also great if you've got friends round and having a few drinks and you can sit around a table and creating stories by taking turns to roll and pull the dice. There's lots of fun with these, but there's also the added bonus of using them as you would charm casting, and you sort of cube cast. So they live there. So this is my space, and I love it. I'm glad, to be sharing this with you today. I hope you have enjoyed the visit here, and I hope that you make a VR to this and share where you read. I'd love to see it. Take care, have a wonderful day whatever you're doing, and keep warm. It's not the warmest of days out there today. Bye now.